everyone, my name is Clementine and welcome to my channel where I do reactions and reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Killing Eve Season 3 Episode 1. Now this premiere had a lot going on and the end was stunning. It was traumatizing. I wish it had a trigger warning for how upset it would make me. Now this premiere had a lot going on, but it also did kind of set us up for this season. The ending was a bit upsetting. Did not expect a stun cry during Killing Eve. So let's get into it. So we begin the episode with a younger Dasha practicing for the Olympics, and she's definitely being scolded by her trainer as she sees her boyfriend coming into the building, and he meets her in her locker room. They make out just a little bit, and then she just beats him to death. Not sure exactly if that was a planned thing or if she just did it just to prove herself. But she killed him, and then she covered his face with some type of white sand. And we come to learn that this specific kill shaped the 12 and how they modeled their kills. So she became a bit of a household name. So next we see Villanelle, and she's getting married. Looks like she pretty much shacked up with the first dark-haired woman she found. And it's kind of like Villanelle fashion. You know, she couldn't really get over Eve, her supposed ex that she wanted dead. And there's no romance, so much so that in the toast, when asked what made her so drawn to her new bride, she says that she loved her shoes. And she has a pool. How can you argue with that? And it looks very sad. I definitely felt bad for the bride at this point. But as they're cutting the cake and her family's trying to enjoy themselves, Dasha comes in. Dasha comes in for business. And Villanelle does not enjoy the sight of her. And instantly, she begins fighting with her. And they're fighting on the floor. Her family's freaking out. Her new bride is crying in the corner. It's just pure chaos, and in Villanelle fashion, she and Dasha leave in her just married car. And we also come to learn that Dasha used to be Villanelle's trainer and mentor. So there's definitely a history there, and that's definitely why she tried to kill her when she first saw her. So we see Carolyn not in good graces when it comes to her boss, and because of that, she's assigned an overseer, one that it looks like she has a bit of history with. There's some tension when they meet. And I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying this change of pace because I'm not used to seeing Carolyn not in charge. And she's definitely not used to being not in charge. So it looks like there's going to be a bit of a struggle of power there. And then she has a meeting with her boss. And her boss gives it to her straight. The entire operation that she had in Rome was unauthorized. Her allowing Eve to stay in the safe house was unauthorized. And her cleanup of Rome was unauthorized. So she's definitely on thin ice when it comes to work. So we finally get a glimpse at Eve. And she's looking not so hot. She is just a shadow of who she once was. She is at a small convenience store grabbing food, getting some ramen, no added vegetables because she's not in the mood to make some good decisions today. So she's definitely looking a bit empty, just as I thought in the trailer. And we also learn that she's currently staying in New Maiden, England. Meanwhile, Villanelle is in Barcelona, and she's having a conversation with Dasha, who is just begging her, pleading with her to come back to the 12. Villanelle's not going to return that easy. She's asking her exactly, what are you getting out of me returning? What exactly do you want from me? And Dasha has to give it to her straight. She's like, look, if you come back to the 12, I can take my ass back home to Russia. So whatever I gotta do to make it so that you come back to the 12, I'll do. Whatever you want, whatever you need, I got you. What do you want? And Villanelle says, make me a keeper. I want to be just like Constantine. And Dasha laughs in her face. She, of course, says, we can do that. We can make that happen. And the entire time she's laughing. She laughs her way into the kitchen, presumably for a snack. And then she laughs her way back outside, right back into Villanelle's grasp. And they begin choking each other. And they choke each other until they begin laughing. And so it looks like that's kind of their relationship. It's volatile, but at the same time humorous, because they are the only people who know what the other has been through because they lived it. So I'm definitely curious to see how this relationship is going to go. So we finally see Kenny, and he has come up. He is at a new job as a journalist for some type of publication company. It's very small, but he's happy. And he says that he's working on an article, but he refused to discuss what it's about. His coworker slash friend, it looks like, prompts him, and he's saying, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm working on it. And we also see that he has some type of evidence on his computer. I thought he was putting it in the trash, but I'm not so sure, especially given how things turn out in the end of the episode. I was worried when I saw that, but I thought that it was putting it behind him at that point, so we see Eve, and she's working at a restaurant. Only in the back, however. She's very adamant of working only in the back, and she says that later on to her boss. But she's listening to these young boys talk about a young girl that one of them are dating behind her, and she's just chuckling because this guy is just head over heels with this girl that he went on a date with. And he's saying, well, she hasn't really messaged back, but I'm sure she's probably sick or something. She's gonna be fine. She's gonna message back. It's okay. And she's just like, he doesn't even know. He doesn't even get it. This guy knows, clearly. But he just does not get it yet. And we also get a glimpse at her scar, her bullet wound, or at least the exit wound on her back. And it looks like it's healed, so it's definitely been a lot of time that has passed. But it looks like she hasn't exactly gotten over it, and of course she hasn't. So we see Constantine, and he's ignoring his phone calls, just completely dodging the 12. However, he goes home later and receives a message he can't ignore. He orders takeout, and when he gets the menu, it has Russian letters which says, "Time to go fishing." I'm not sure if that had any correlation with what happened at the end of the episode, because I don't want to think Constantine would do that. I would like to think he has some boundaries, but then again, maybe it could be payback, because Carolyn doesn't really have that many boundaries either. So Villanelle meets with the new girls that she's supposed to be training, and she's of course not taking it seriously, and Dasha's getting fed up with it. Dasha says, well, you're going to have to prove yourself, right? They're just not going to hand you the job on a silver platter. This is going to be the first time that you're actually going to have to work for something. Like, are you up to that or nah? And we don't exactly get a response, but I'm definitely curious to see if Villanelle is up to that. So we see Eve and where she's staying at her apartment, which is a dump, by the way. Just completely just ruined. Like, it's just food everywhere, just messy. Like, I understand you're going through maybe a type of depression, maybe a type of PTSD. I'm not diagnosing, but she's definitely going through something. But I'm like, you gotta just like do 3 things a day, just 3 things. And one of those things have to be clean. Like, just clean just a little bit a day, just don't let it get that bad. But she's going through it, so we have to give her that forgiveness. And we see that she was about to text Nico a joke, at least until realizing that they're actually not really on talking terms. So accidentally, she texts Kenny before falling asleep, and she wakes up to him staring at her. So they have a conversation, and he eventually apologizes for Rome. And she says, hey, it's water under the bridge. And we eventually learn that the only reason why she was saved is because tourists found her where she was lying almost dead. And he even tried to visit her, but they weren't really allowing anyone to get close to her because of the circumstances of her injuries. He also states that he's now a journalist and kind of gives her a bit of an update on what's been going on with him. And Eve says that she's done with Carolyn. She's done with learning about the 12. She's done with MI6. And Kenny says, well, I've been doing my own research, if you want to get in on this. But Eve is just like, no, I'm just not. But he keeps trying to push until she says, look, I'm not trying to get into that again. It almost killed me. And we see that flash of emotion. That's like the first emotion that we've actually seen coming from her. And that's healthy for her. That's healing. But it's probably not going to come again because she's not really being social. She's not allowing herself to process what happened. And how can you process what happened? So before Kenny leaves, he asks her, hey, do you want to just come sometime for a drink after work or just try to be more social because you don't seem very happy? And even Eve says, why would I need to be happy? Like, why would that be a priority in my life? And that is definitely what a depressed person would say. So we see Villanelle and Gerona. I'm probably saying it wrong. Definitely let me know in the comments. But she's there pretending to deliver packages. And she goes to this small spice shop and begins a small conversation with the owner, who tells her that her grandfather actually owned this place, which gives Villanelle a bit of an end. She says, well, my grandfather's so sick and he has kind eyes just like your grandfather. And that just, of course, tugs at the heartstrings. And the woman gets on her ladder and tries to reach for a tea to give Villanelle for her grandfather, which gives Villanelle an idea. Instead of stabbing her, or maybe even cutting her tendons like it looks like she may have been doing. Why do I watch so many horror movies? But it looks like she was about to do that. But instead of doing that, she just shakes the ladder, which makes the woman fall. And she decides to look a little bit more at the spices, which gives the woman just a little bit more time to get up and try to strangle Villanelle instead of staying down for some reason. And of course, Villanelle gets the upper hand. She hits her in the stomach and then grabs a jar and beats her to death, which I didn't expect. I don't know why, but it was just so horrific how she did it, just how quickly and blunt it was. So just watching that and then her putting the red spice all over her face after was replicating what happened in the cold open with Dasha. So it looks like she's definitely trying to one-up her. She wants her to know, anything you can do, I can do better. So I'm curious to see where this competition's gonna go. Also, according to Killing Eve on their Instagram, they posted a little video of the outtakes of this scene, and it showed that the woman who was the owner had to sit there for I think 10 or 15 minutes while her face was covered in those spices so they can get the right shot. So I'm just saying, dedication, 10/10. I feel like that was also one of the most, not gonna say horrific or shocking, but just memorable deaths of the show. Let me know if you agree. Maybe it's just me. So we finally see Kenny standing up to his mother Carolyn, and she's not expecting it, neither are we. He finally asks her if she has anything to say or anything to apologize for in regards to their trip to Rome. And first she just blows him off, but eventually she says, you know what, I cannot apologize for the things that I've done. She specifically says life is a series of trade-offs and compromises that we all have to make. And especially when it comes to my job, I have to make those compromises and I cannot apologize for it. And in the same breath, she asks him what he wants for dinner. Do you want these fish and chips or nah? And I love that about Carolyn. I love that I can tell that she's probably an Aquarius. There's some Aquarius in her chart somewhere because I'm sensing that, like, that directness and just, okay, let's move on. Even though he's still kind of reeling over that answer. Even me, like, I was like, that's kind of like, I understand that she had a job to do, but she did cause a lot of people to get hurt. So she definitely has to answer to that, even if she feels like the ends justify those means. So we see Eve visiting Nico at a mental institution, which is something that I guess we should have expected. Completely forgot about Nico's existence, but he is here. Completely forgot he was in that storage unit with the dead body. I'm not sure how long he was there, but apparently he was found there, and her family was told that she committed suicide, which Nico believes is unfair. It's unfair to her life and it's unfair to her family that they don't know the truth, that Villanelle killed her when she didn't actually have to. It was just because she wanted to. It wasn't her job. It was just because she could. And it made Nico traumatized, and he's going to have to process that. And he also admits that he realizes that he deserves better. In particular, better than Eve. And while Nico's boring, Nico is just as Villanelle said, a chocolate fudge with the mustache. But he doesn't deserve the things that he's been through in the past few seasons. Like, we can all agree that even though he's boring and we don't want him in the picture, he still does deserve better. Eve could have just easily just nipped that in the bud with a divorce, like season 1, instead of, dragging him along. But that's a different story. So we see Eve back at the restaurant, and she is just not having it today. She's hearing those 2 kids talk again, and she can't help but go off on the kid. She turns to him and says, look, you know good and well she's not talking to you for a reason. She's not interested. And you're not upset and crying because of her. You're upset and crying because you feel stupid. You're upset and crying because you were stupid. And she's projecting. She's projecting all those emotions and the hurt and the pain that she feels about Villanelle just shooting her just like that for no reason, no warning, no anything. She was hurt because she did have feelings for her, and while she didn't necessarily get a chance to process those feelings, she's having to face them all now. She's having to face the feelings that she had before, and also closure, or the lack of, because she just got shot, So we're definitely seeing that frustration also again with Eve. She hasn't been able to deal with her emotions, deal with the trauma of being shot by the person that she cared about. And we're seeing that flash of emotion again before she hides it away. And when she finally gets a chance to calm down, she decides to text Kenny and ask if he's available for drinks. And of course, he's going to say yes. But when we do see Kenny, while he's on the phone with her, just as he gets off the phone, he looks to his left and he's hearing some type of noises. He sounds like someone's coming, but they haven't made their presence known yet. And he looks unsettled. He was matching my feelings at that moment. And so we see Eve later go to his building looking for him. She's calling out his name. She finds his phone on his desk. And we see him fall from the roof to the ground. We see him through that window, and that part was when they got me messed up. Okay, I was upset. I wasn't expecting that. So we see Eve. She heard the noise and she looks out the window and sees him. So she runs outside, and then she sees his body. And that's where we leave it. That's where we leave the episode. And overall, it was a good episode. I feel like they did a lot to set the scene for the upcoming episodes in regards to Villanelle and Dasha and her training, in regards to Constantine and him getting pulled back into the 12. And we're seeing Carolyn and her having to face the trouble that she caused last season, even though Eve won't be able to witness it. And we're also seeing Eve and what she may be forced to get back into next episode, because I don't think that she's going to take Kenny's death lying down. And speaking of Kenny's death, I want to have a talk with the writers. I want to talk with whoever made this decision, because I am upset and I did not expect that. Like, there was no trigger warning, by the way, one of your favorite characters are going to be bye-bye. I haven't been so affected by a death since Bill's death in the 3rd episode of the 1st season. That was traumatizing because we loved Bill in such a short time. We learned so much about him, and I felt like we were just so excited to see this journey that he and Eve were going to go on before it was abruptly ended. And they did that shit on purpose. And so the fact that they did this with Kenny on the 1st episode really messed me up. And I'm upset, I'm bothered, but I'm still going to watch that next episode though. But I still want to have a conversation with these writers. I feel like me and them need to just throw hands at this point. Like, we can just glove up, I'll put my mask on, and we can try to social distance as much as possible while we throw hands. I'm not sure how that's going to work with 6 feet. We might have to minimize it to 3 for those few minutes, but this has to happen because I'm upset. But I'm definitely going to be watching the next episode. I will also be posting it sooner rather than later. This past week has been very hectic, so my schedule was all over the place. So let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Also, make sure to like and subscribe so you can stay updated on my next reviews, also on my next videos. But until next time.